You know, right now, there's like a storm developing over public broadcasting in the US. Seriously, it's a heated issue. We're talking about NPR and PBS personnel. These networks have, let's be honest, been under the spotlight for a long time. Now, with claims of being sort of skewed towards the left side. And, well, when government money is involved, it really gets people talking.
The heads of NPR and PBS testified before Congress this week amid accusations of liberal bias. Should the government continue to send taxpayer dollars to public broadcasters? Well, a little background here. I mean, they've been after them the Republicans have wanted to get rid of PBS for as long as I can remember. This crowd will probably do it. I mean, I also read my namesake, Catherine Maher, was head of NPR, and, she said, we're completely unbiased. Give me a break, lady. I mean, they're crazy.
Why should our taxpayers finance something that maybe isn't as unbiased as it should be?
So, I mean, I think we're past the age, really, where the government, first of all, why do we need to subsidize? Why can't we have outlets like this? And we're so polarized. These outlets became popular at a time when Republicans and Democrats didn't hate each other and weren't at each other's throats and didn't think each other was an existential threat. In that world, you can't have places like this, I think, anymore. They have to be private.
Yeah. I think Yuri Berliner, ex-NPR employer, his piece this week, where he said that they should just let go of the funding. I love NPR. I listen to NPR almost every day, have since 1975, when my parents used to play it in our Chevrolet Caprice when I was like 9 years old. I love it for its point of view, but since 2020, it has no longer been general. I remember in 2021, my then 9-year-old asked me, and of course she has no sense of context, I don't pump her full of things like this. She said from the back seat in a very different car, she said, "Daddy, why is it that NPR is always playing the same thing?" And I said, "What do you mean the same thing?" And I swear she said, now she doesn't have a vocabulary, but she said, "It's always about how somebody can't do something." And that what she was getting at was that. I wouldn't have said that about the NPR that I knew back in the day, and I wouldn't have said it 10 years ago, but that is what it is now. I will listen to it daily, but it's no longer a general audience venue. They should just give up national funding.
Bill Maher has jumped in with some, how can I say this, fairly explosive comments of his own. It's got everyone buzzing, wondering about the government's stance, and whether it's time to pull the plug on public money. Wait a second, if you adore things that challenge the conventional and keep it real, push that subscribe button. Go ahead, I'll wait. Done? Welcome aboard. Okay, so let's go straight into Bill Maher's courageous position on this whole public broadcasting controversy. You see, Maher isn't exactly renowned for holding back, and, well, this time was no exception. In front of a jaw-dropped throng, he publicly lambasted NPR and PBS for what he regards as a strong socialist leaning.
You're a rabid progressive. And do you not think it's a problem that your political leanings make it seem to the American people that you're not biased and you're not doing your job? Because you agree that your job is to have journalistic integrity, right?
Absolutely, but there is a strong firewall between the newsroom and anything that I
Let's talk about the newsroom. You have 87 registered Democrats, not a single Republican in your editor board. So, I mean, how does that work to give us the perception that you're doing your job of actually delivering unbiased information?
Well, I would agree with you that that number is a concern if it is accurate. I do believe that we need to have journalists who represent the full breadth of the American society so that we can report well for all Americans.
Well, I think that you are failing. I realize you've only been there for a year, but I just really think that while it is a small portion of your budget, you very much should expect to restructure your revenue streams, because I don't think that NPR is necessarily worth saving.
But one of the most significant differences, critical for moving from polarization to productivity, is that the Wikipedians who write these articles aren't actually focused on finding the truth. They're working for something that's a little bit more attainable, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years there, I actually believe that they're onto something. That for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth isn't necessarily the best place to start. In fact, I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction. that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
And honestly, it's good to hear someone call out these mammoth networks that have long been accused of being public relations. Wings for the Democratic Party. So, what provoked Maher's outburst? Well, it all began with the congressional hearings when senior executives from NPR and PBS were probed about the blatant biases within their networks. Amid these high-stakes negotiations, Maher took the moment to air his viewpoint. He stressed how historically public radio was supposed to give unbiased news and good content, working as a bridge in political debate. But now, he believes there's been a big change. We're talking about a considerable swing away from what made these networks interesting, turning them into something more politically charged. Maher gave cases showing what he regards as a slide from neutrality. He underlined how NPR and PBS have been caught up in, tales that usually tilt substantially to the left. Remember the Hunter Biden laptop incident? Well, absolutely. Both networks were pretty dismissive about addressing the matter, and Maher didn't shy away from bringing it up. Now, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, you have to recognize that ignoring a story like that creates issues about neutrality. Maher also quoted material from a report done by a former NPR official, Ira Berliner. This work, it's incredibly eye-opening and generated quite a buzz. Berliner, who spent 25 years at NPR, accused the network of losing America's trust, painting a place where only one side of the political narrative is transmitted. Berliner's perspective is that NPR, at one time known for its fair reporting, has now morphed into a platform that broadcasts what suits its narrative rather than factual neutrality. Based on Berliner's revelations, Maher pointed out this big credibility gap that's like floating over public television. And, amid these exhaustive congressional testimonies, something else drew everybody's attention. There was this astounding statistic involving NPR's editorial crew. Reportedly, 87 out of 87 folks are registered Democrats. Just think about it. Maher leaped on this revelation, claiming that such overwhelming bias within the organization barely warrants a claim of impartiality. Even if you lean Democratic, having a newsroom with such a shortage of variation in political opinions is going to raise issues. Bill Maher jokingly said that maybe it's about time to pull the financial plug on these networks and let them swim on their own in the private sector. His reasoning? In a period when political borders are so clearly engraved, the public confidence in these institutions is diminishing, and, really quickly. He added it's no longer the 1970s or 80s when Americans could look to PBS or NPR for very unbiased information despite hot politics. Instead, Maher thinks maybe we should let them run without governmental subsidies, encouraging a more honest marketplace of ideas. So, folks, where does that leave us? Is there maybe a point in Maher's proposal for a reform in how we pay and administer public broadcasting? Should these networks struggle and flourish based on talent and audience support rather than a big government safety net? It's certainly food for thought, particularly for those of us who like true diversity in media that represents a broad spectrum of political and social opinions. So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.